MMA fans, welcome back to Carlo Peruzza MMA. I'm Carlo Peruzza. Today I'm joined with undefeated amateur mixed martial artist. He is Mr. Allan Johns. Allan, thank you for joining me today, man. I know you've got a lot of exciting things going on. I covered you about a year ago. We stayed in touch. And now you're telling me that you're doing stuff with Team USA or be in the Pan Am Games of MMA. How exciting, how unbelievable. So let's just get into it right away. Talk about it. I mean, you're scheduled August 30th, September 7th to compete in the Pan Am Games. How did you get yourself with Team USA MMA? How did you find them?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, so honestly, it was just something my coach brought up because I've been training, um, staying really consistent in the gym after dealing with some like injuries and stuff after the last fight that I had to take some time away from. Um, but I was getting back in the gym, training consistently, and my coach Jason Rivera he brought up the tryouts, which were in March of this year, and he told me about it. He said it'd be a good opportunity. It was out in Big Bear Lake, California. Um, so a little trip from home, but it was a good experience. So he told me about it. We trained, prepared for it, and then I went out there. It was 3 days worth of tryouts. We did like sparring sessions, and then a lot of the mixed different training sessions involved with it too. Um, did all that, went through the selection process, which that was just pretty much you'd fight with other competitors in your weight class, which I tried out for the 135 weight class, and they did like an overview or a review of it, and then uh, I was selected for the team, and then since then just been getting ready for Pan Am's.
So what was the fights like? Is it kind of similar to like, when you're in the Ultimate Fighter, how they have the fights on the show? Is it a little similar, or is it kind of just like sparring that they review and make their decision based on that?
So yeah, I would say it would like be like the Ultimate Fighter. They had like a camera crew because they recorded the whole process, and I know they're planning on releasing like a documentary sort of type film for it. But yeah, it was just like kind of like how they do it on Ultimate Fighter. Uh, We'd be one person, you and another person, and then everyone would be kind of watching. You guys go at it for. They did. It was only one round each, just because there were so many people in different weight classes that they had to get through. So you'd go with one round, you get a little break, and then you go with another person in your weight class, and it just kept going. So everybody competed and got their chance to compete and show the coaches their skills.
What was your record like during that? Did you get to fight more than one time?
Yeah, I got to fight twice. It was I got I would say it was really good. The one fight I had, I felt like I dominated pretty well. Um, the the other one, I got caught in a submission, but outside of that, I felt like I was doing pretty good, especially on the feet and then working my takedowns. And I think that was um, what helped impress the coaches and my ability to bounce back after a little setback.
You mentioned you were over at Big Bear up in California. A lot of fighters train out there. Tito Ortiz obviously trained out there for a long time. What
Yeah.
was it like being in that altitude, that high altitude? Did that change some things for you?
Yeah, that that was a lot different. I was not used to that. That was the first time training in altitude, um, so that was a big wake up call. Uh, I started getting used to it near like the end of the training sessions, but the initial sessions I was it was crazy because we did like the first day it was like grappling, like striking into grappling, and we were just doing like simple drills, and I was like, man, I'm getting winded, and I don't usually get this tired this fast. So I was so confused, like dumbfounded. I was like, I know I trained hard. I shouldn't be out of shape or anything, but it's just that altitude. That's a whole nother beast. So uh, it would be something I would like to experience again, just because it's a good test for your body, and coming back home and training, it made a difference. Like I could feel the way I was breathing and recovering and stuff. It was a lot better.
One thing I noticed about you is you take a lot of pride in being a very well-rounded fighter. I mean, you're only an amateur. You've had a couple contests under your belt, but you train and you act like a professional. You're very good on strikes. Your takedowns are really good. You can handle your own on the ground. How important is it for you and your coaches to ensure that you're training all elements of MMA on a daily basis to be that all-around type guy?
Yeah. Honestly, it just comes down to who, like, fighters that I look up to. Like, I like Allan Johns, and my biggest favorite fighter is Demetrius Johnson, and he's pretty much a well-rounded guy, and that's just a style I like to try to emulate. And I just don't like having the going into fights and competing. I don't like to have the feeling of um, not sharpening or training in all aspects. So I like to leave no stones unturned. And I just want to be able to dominate in all aspects. I don't want to have any weaknesses where it's going to prohibit me from getting where I want to go.
So how did you get into this crazy world of mixed martial arts? I mean, you can do so many different things in life. You're trying to be a professional fighter. What inspired you down the road?
So what got me into I kind of like fell into it. So it all started because I growing up I played all all your regular team sports. I played football, baseball. I did basketball and soccer for like a year. Um, it wasn't until I got to in middle school I was playing football, and one of the football coaches, he was also one of the wrestling coaches, and he talked me into wrestling. Um, that was funny because I never knew like wrestling as the sport it is now. Like wrestling, I automatically assumed WWE. So I was like, oh, I'll be RKOing people and stuff. I was like, I think I could do that. And when I first went to the first practice, it was like a real like eye opener. I was like, oh, I didn't know this was like a legit like sport. Like I didn't know about like the Olympic stuff and all that. Um, so I did that for 2 years, and then I got in. One of my friends on the team, he got in. He trained at the gym I train at now at Combat Club. Um, his family introduced me to that gym, and then I started training jiu-jitsu and boxing, and then Muay Thai, and I competed in all of those. And then um, I saw MMA, and I drifted more towards that because initially I wanted to do more boxing because I kind of liked throwing the hands, and um, I was a big fan of Rocky movies growing up, so that was like a big inspiration to get into fighting. Um, so watching those movies, I was like, yeah, I want to go the boxing route, and then that kind of fiddled out because sometimes like there's a lot of politics and stuff with boxing, and it was really hard for me to get fights after my first couple boxing fights. So I kind of shied away from that, and I started doing more Muay Thai, competed in that, and then I kind of drifted more towards MMA just because the fact I like training everything, and I don't like just solely picking one aspect of martial arts to train. I like doing it all. So, and that was the best way for me to be able to showcase everything. So went more the MMA route, and since like 15, so I'm 21 now, so off to a pretty good start.
What were some of the reactions like from people when you told them you're going to start training mixed martial arts and actually get in there and fight people?
Um, it's funny. Like I said before, watching Rocky movies, that kind of got me. I was like, ooh, I want to try something like that. Uh, and I remember the one time I was watching with my family, and I told my mom, I was like, would you ever let me do something like that? And her first initial reaction was like, oh, no, no, you're not doing that. It's funny looking back now, because now I do, I get punched and kicked and everything. But yeah, some of the reactions, a lot of people are surprised just because of my personality and stuff. I'm pretty a chilled, laid back dude. So whenever I tell them I like to go in the cage and beat people up for fun, they're like they're like kind of shocked at first, and they're like, "You don't seem like the type to be into something like that."
You know, you're so young, you're only 21. I mean, it's pretty amazing. You see a lot of fighters, they don't all start as young as you. I mean, you're starting to see it a little more now, but sometimes it takes
Yeah,
guys a middle into their 20s. And, you know, Anderson Silva, hey, he didn't even hit the UFC till he was like 30 something. And
yeah.
I think it's amazing. I think it's just a testament of how big this sport has grown, how Main Street it has come. However, people still don't realize that there's a lot of sacrifices to being a mixed martial artist. Obviously, you're an amateur right now. You're not making money off of competition. When you do turn pro eventually, the money's not going to be great until you get to a certain point, obviously. You work, you have a job, you train on the side, you have to sacrifice time with your family. You have to watch what you eat. You have to train every day almost. You have to get punched in the face. You have to do all this crazy stuff. Why do you do it?
That's a good question. Um, Honestly, it's just the way I like to put it is it's like almost like a way for me to express myself in a way, um, like a almost like how like an artist they paint pictures to express like their moods and stuff like that. I would say I would think of like the whenever I fight, that's the painting is me going through the fights and going through all the techniques and stuff. Um, Honestly, it's just and it's like a freeing thing because whenever you go in there and fight, there's like all the any personal issues, all any outside stress, all that stuff. It kind of goes out the window, and you're kind of just locked in that one moment. It helps you stay. You're way more present. I know for myself, a lot more present in that moment fighting, and it's like a freeing feeling. And I guess that's kind of what gravitates me to fighting, um, and the passion. And I just really enjoy doing it. It's something uh, I think everyone should at least experience. Maybe not. Maybe if they don't enjoy mixing it up, but at least getting involved in martial arts is a good way. I feel like everyone should at least try something: boxing, jujitsu, wrestling, at least once in their life, so they can experience it. Um, because it's a beautiful thing, and like I said, it's pretty freeing and something I really enjoy and passionate about.
You know, what is your ultimate goal? What are the main goals that you want to accomplish with the MMA career? How far do you want to take this?
So ideally, I want to go to UFC, but I'm open to like fighting in one or possibly even the PFL too. Um, but ultimately, I would love to fight for the UFC, and take it as far. Uh, Obviously, become a champion and be the best possible fighter I can be. Um, and that's what every fight, every camp I go through, that's my main goal is to push myself and see how high the ceiling is for me and keep pushing through those barriers. Because I don't want to half-heartedly go through these fights and not uh, and leave a lot of potential on the table when it's all said and done. So the biggest thing is just to go as high as I possibly can with this, and make the most out of the opportunities I get along the way.
What would you say are some of your big motivators? What motivates you to keep grinding and keep plugging away?
Big motivators. I would say one would be like the passion I have for the sport. Even like taking time away from it kind of bogs me down sometimes. I'm like, ah, man, I can't wait to get back to training, especially like dealing with injuries and stuff, and you got to take time off. It's like, man, I can't wait to get back on the mats and train. Um, and I would also say my the biggest one would be my family, um, especially my parents. Coming from a military household, uh, discipline and then working hard has always been a strong trait in my family, and especially growing up and hearing some of the stuff they went through growing up. Uh, it motivates me to keep pushing and strive to make them proud, and then kind of carry on that family tradition of being working hard and being a disciplined individual.
And now you just got off of work not too long ago. What do you do for work, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now, I work at a Mediterranean restaurant. Right now, um, I work 6 days out of the week, and then hours kind of fluctuate here and there. I work there, and then I usually train most of the time in my
At
free
least,
time.
at least it's somewhat healthy. I mean, you're not going to be too tempted to make some bad decisions when you're cutting
Yeah,
weight.
yeah, it helps out a lot because there's a lot of healthier options, and especially like with the because I never heard of like had Mediterranean food until I started working here, but it does help out when it comes to like weight cuts and stuff like that, having healthier options to pick from and not having to be tempted to eat all the good sweet stuff that be everywhere all around.
Do you ever find yourself at work? You probably like your job, you enjoy it, but does that ever kind of motivate you to be like, one day this is cool and all, I like it, respect the people that do it, but one day my job will be fighting?
Yeah, 100%. Biggest thing, especially for me, I feel like I was meant to do something big in my life, and I feel like fighting's like an avenue that was presented to me as a way to express that, if that makes sense. And I have those moments where I sit there and there's days because it's at the end of the day it's a job, and not everybody. Some days I don't feel like going in, and I'd rather just be at the gym training because I enjoy doing that. But at the end of the day, I know for now it's going to help support my dream until I'm able to make it a full-time career. And that's kind of what helps motivate me stay focused because it's like I know if I slack off, I'm just going to have to keep working a job and having to try to find time to train. And if I stay focused and dedicated to my craft and keep putting on dominant performances, it'll help me pave my way to making it a full-time career in the long run.
I mean, you're early into your amateur career. Obviously, you're about to have this amazing opportunity at the Pan Am Games, um, but you're only 21. Have you thought about pro? I mean, I'm sure you have. I'm sure it crosses your mind all the time. But that decision to make it to go pro, that decision to change pro, you have guys like Bo Nickel. It only took him 3 or 4 amateur contests before he decided to do it. You have other guys, Malcolm Wellmaker, a guy who's fought on conflict shows around this area. I think he took him like 10 fights before they turned him pro. What are your thoughts on that? Are you just going to decide? Is that something you feel like you'll be ready when you make the decision, or your coach is going to help you?
I think it'll be a combination of both, to be honest. I feel like it would obviously be something I would talk with my coaches first before making that jump, because it's a team effort, especially coming into for camps and stuff. Because you only get one shot at pros, and you don't want to mess that up, jumping the gun too early when you're not prepared. And I've seen, especially locally in this area, I've seen a lot of dudes that made the jump way too early, and they didn't have as great as pro careers. And I'm not trying to fall down that route. Um, so honestly, I'm kind of taking my time. I want to build the experience, and I know especially with this national team stuff, it'll be good for me because competing against other amateurs across the world. Um, so it'll be a good test to see where I stack up with them. And honestly, and that'll be a good indicator of whether if I'm ready to make that leap, or if I need to keep building the skill set, stay amateur a little bit before I make that jump.
I'm looking just right now on the list of winners that have competed in MMA on the IMMAF games, just like you're about to compete over in Mexico. There's some UFC guys in there. I mean, there's some big names. I saw Brendan Allen in there. There's a couple other notables in there as well. Does that kind of motivate you and inspire you when you see, hey, these guys that are crushing it right now on the highest level of this sport, they competed, they got the opportunity to do what I'm about to do?
Yeah, for sure. Because like when I first found out about when my coach brought this up, I didn't know what the IMMAF was and then once I started doing more research on it and seeing all the athletes that competed on there that are in the UFC, PFL, One Championship, I was like, oh man, like this is going to be a good test and a good way for me to help pave my way and make a name for myself, especially help get my name out there on the world scene as well.
So now in Mexico, when you go and you compete, have they told you to expect how many fights you may have? Do you know how many rounds these fights are going to be?
So I know the rounds they're going to be 3 3-minute rounds. As far as how many like competitors, like how many fights I'll have, I'm not sure yet. Um, I should find out more by the closer the date comes. But yeah, honestly, I'm just preparing to go. If I have 2 fights, 5 fights, 10 fights, I'm preparing to fight as many times as I want. Ideally, I would like to fight a good couple of times, like 5 times would be amazing. But uh, whatever whatever's in the cards when it comes to that time, I'll be ready to fight for that, and I'll make sure I'll be ready.
So I'm guessing based on the amount of people per weight class, that will dictate, I guess, the overall field. And will it work like a elimination style tournament until you get a gold medalist? Is that how this works?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
What do you think of that method? I mean, like when you look at it in the MMA landscape, besides PFL, it's really different than most professional sports. I mean, like the UFC, obviously, they have a ranking system, but if we've seen, it's kind of unpredictable. I mean, if you're popular, you're usually going to be getting the title shots, and it's hard to know if you're going to get one. PFL, they do things a little different, obviously, but they have a regular season, and then you can qualify for a playoff and all that. How do you think it should go? What are your thoughts? Have you ever thought about that? What kind of style you like better?
Um. So honestly, like at first I was kind of in favor of like how the UFC does it because you kind of in a way you kind of set your own schedule depending on like if when they book you and stuff. But I'm not totally against how the PFL does it because it kind of gives you like a structure for the year, you know, because you'll have because they do it in seasons and then they have like the playoffs, and I kind of like that style because you get like a set schedule throughout the year so you can set your training camps accordingly and have make sure you're getting that downtime in between so your body can recover. Um, Especially for this tournament, I like the tournament style. Going back to it, I haven't done like a tournament style like that for like striking or like that since like kickboxing. Besides jiu-jitsu tournaments, but um, I like that style. Fighting multiple times, you get a lot of experience in a short amount of time. So it's pretty much the best, especially for amateurs. That's the best you can ask for, honestly. Get as much experience as you can in a short amount of time against the best people in the world. So I like the tournament style. Um, just as like a especially for amateurs as a developmental way to help improve and see how you stack up against the best people.
Now, going into Mexico, going into this event, what is the hopes here? Are you going in there with the expectation of trying to place? Are you going in there to try to see what the most you can get? Are you trying to test yourself? What is the mindset coming into this?
Mindset, I want to win it all. I don't. I want to. I want to put on the most dominating performance I can. because like I said, this is a pretty big opportunity in the amateur scene, and I don't want to leave no stones unturned. I want to go out there and show them who I am as a person and really put my name out there. So I'm looking at going out there and to dominate the competition, no matter who's in front of me, whether it's a Pan Am champion from last year or a three-time Pan Am, I don't accolades or whatever. I don't care. I'm going in there to dominate.
You know, one thing that's really cool about this that's different than almost any other MMA competition is usually when you go to the UFC, the PFL, any of these regional shows, you know, you represent yourself. I mean, obviously you're billed from whatever team you train with, but you're representing yourself. You're going to be representing the United States of America. How cool is that for you able to obviously fight for you, try to win that individual achievement, but also rep the United States?
Yeah, it's a really cool experience. It's like it's pretty much like the Olympics almost for MMA, you know, um, which that was. It's kind of in a way it's like full circle, like bringing it back to when I did boxing, because I when I did boxing I wanted to go down that route, boxing the amateurs, win like the Golden Gloves, go to the Olympics, and then go pro right after, and then after that kind of fizzled out. uh, I kind of figured like the Olympics wasn't really, especially with MMA. That was before knowing like with like Gamma and then IMMAF, um, knowing about those organizations. But like this is kind of like a way for me, almost like a full circle. Like I get to live out a goal I had when I was younger. Now just in the MMA scene, and being able to represent the United States is it's a cool feeling. Like I said, it's like the Olympics for MMA, and it's no, honestly, the highest level competition you can go against, and you can't ask for much better for that experience.
What would it mean for you personally to be able to go out there and do well? Like if you win the thing, what would that mean for you?
It means a lot, especially going through some like rough patches. Personally, it would mean a lot to win it all, especially to bring it back home in the small town, because there's not in this because I live in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and you don't hear a lot of people doing big things like that. It's like a small little town, so to do something like that, it really helped put my city on the map, and it'd be like a huge honor to help, especially the MMA scene down here. It'd be a huge stamp on there because we have a couple guys from North Carolina in the UFC, but uh, not not too many people that I know of that fought on the world stage amateur wise. So especially in MMA, so I I feel like I'd be like the first one to be doing something like that. So it'd be a very huge accomplishment for the my town and my city and my family and my gym. Um, so it would mean a lot going into this and to be able to win it all.
Do you feel like this experience could potentially maybe fast track or fasten your amateur career?
I think so. Like I said, because this is like the highest level for amateurs you can get. Like this is above the regional scene, and this is like just beneath fighting like for like a big promotion like UFC or PFL or one championship. So I mean, if I'm able to dominate completely through and put on a show and really showcase my skills, I feel like it would fast track my amateur career and help propel me into my pro career with a good amount of hype and momentum going into it.
All right, Allan, last question for you, man. In a perfect world, what happens in Mexico?
Perfect world. We go out, we dominate all our fights, become the Pan American champion, and bring the gold medal back home and put Jacksonville on the map. Ain't nothing simple as that. Yeah, just complete domination. A lot of finishes. That's my main goal. I don't want to leave it to any judges. No opportunity for it to be a toss-up on who won and not that. I just want to go in there and just dog walk the competition. So that's the plan. That's the perfect world. Dog walk the competition, win the gold, bring it back home, and celebrate with the family.
Allan, man, I wish you nothing but the best. We're all excited to see you get down to Mexico. I'm definitely going to see. Hopefully, they have this streaming or something where I can go in and watch this, because I'm definitely try to keep up with your contest, man. But thanks so much for talking to me today. Sorry it took a little while for us to plan this, but I appreciate having you on, man, and really enjoyed talking to you once again, my friend.
Thank you. Pleasure. Yeah. Yeah, anytime. I enjoyed it. I'm glad we were able to catch up. It's been a minute.
It has been. But ladies and gentlemen, that's Allan Johns, Carl Peruzza. Tune in August 30th to September 7th to see if we can take home the gold medal. Take care.